What is going on, everybody, and welcome to part 10 of the AI in StarCraft II with Python series. In the previous tutorial, what we were doing is working on some code to build training data, and I told you guys I would build the training data. You didn't necessarily have to do that, and I have done that. So what we're going to be doing is working on building our model that's going to work with that, and then probably in the next video we'll feed it through the model, and then probably in the video after that we'll do the actual test how did that model do. So in the text-based version of the tutorial, I've put a link to the training data. You can just click that link, boom, here you are, download it, extract it, there's your training data. So what we're going to be doing is using Keras. If you don't have it, you're going to want to do a pip install Keras. That's probably a little too big, but you know. Anyway, at least for now, I'm using Keras 2.1.2. And then also you'll need TensorFlow-GPU. So well, I guess you just need TensorFlow, but probably want the GPU version. So TensorFlow-GPU. And the version I'm actually using right at this present moment is 1.9.0. It just came out, in the text-based version I was using 1.8. Both of them work just fine. Also, some people have been noting that you cannot do this in Python 3.7, which is apparently the case because of WebSockets. I'm not really sure exactly what the problem is there, but there is a problem there. Okay, so we're going to be using Keras. So we're going to import Keras. And then from keras.models, we're going to import the sequential type of model, which just means it's a feed-forward neural network. It's going to do it like things go in sequence. Okay, so it's not like anything fancy. From keras.layers, we're going to import the dense layer. That's just your typical layer. We're going to import dropout, which is just used to make your neural network theoretically more robust. And then we're going to import flatten, because we're going to be using a convolutional neural network, but a common thing that people are going to do is you want to, maybe right before you have your output layer, you're going to do like just a simple dense layer, which is why we're importing that there. To do that, you'll need to first flatten the data. So we've got those things. We also want conv2D because we've got a two-dimensional convolutional layers that we're going to be using. And then also we're going to have pooling layers. So we'll import those as well. That's probably mad because I crossed over the... Maybe not. Nope. Just saying that we haven't used them. Okay, so then from keras.callbacks, we're going to import TensorBoard because we want to be able to visualize how the model is actually doing. So we can track things like accuracy and the loss and other metrics too if you want to. So then, besides that, we're going to import NumPy as NP. We're going to I really don't like that it does that to me. Import NumPy as NP. We're going to import OS. So we're going to use NumPy when we're reading in the data to do some shaping as well. OS to iterate through a training directory. And then we're also going to import random. So in the directory I'm working in here, pull it over, we've got the custom SC2 package that we got prior to this. And then I've also exported extracted the train data, although that's quite small. I'll need to put a more full amount of training data in there. Let me see if I've got a better... I think this one's pretty full. I just want at least enough. So I actually did all my training on a different... I did it on a Paperspace machine. So I think I'll just delete that one and then paste in. There we go. Okay. Hopefully that's done copying 13 gigabytes by the time we actually need it. Actually, we're not going to need it till the next tutorial. Anyway, moving along. So the next thing is we're going to start defining our model. So our model is going to be sequential. Then the next thing we're going to do is just start adding in all of the layers to the model. And don't really see much point in writing all that one out. So copy, paste. So what's going on here is we're just adding in the layers. So you've got a convolutional layer, then we've got some pooling. So the convolutional layer has 32, I guess you would call them features, and the windows are 3 by 3. And then the input shape, that is the shape of the game data that we're passing. So that is 176 by 200 by 3. Now, when I first started doing convolutional neural networks, I always thought if you wanted to have color, surely that would be a 3-dimensional convolutional neural network, right? But these are just channels. So even though, yes, that's a 3rd dimension, that doesn't matter. It's still a 2-dimensional convolutional neural network. So 3 dimensions would truly be like 3-dimensional data. Like if you have, like there was a Kaggle challenge with like a lung scans basically, and that was 3-dimensional. So you can actually work with 3-dimensional data. Anyway, so with padding, because as you start shifting a window, basically at some point you might shift to get some data, and then you've got some of the windows like hanging off the edge. The question is, what do you do? Well, you're going to pad it, and we're just saying just repeat with the same padding. And yeah, that's basically it. There's if you want to know more about convolutional neural networks, you can go to pythonprogramming.net. I'm assuming we can type convolution in the search bar. And then here you go. I think I've got some lovely pictures. Yes, I do, about what the windows are and all that, and then how pooling works. It's super fascinating. So anyways, so that is the main bit of our neural network. And then dropout, just in case you're not familiar, basically what happens there is, so in this case, it's like a 20% dropout. So the idea is 20% of the data we just kind of like toss it before we go to the next layer to do our inputs. And the objective here is to have no like really biasing nodes in the network, and so the thought is that it makes things more robust. There's plenty of research to back it up. It's just not necessarily going to be the case that it's always going to help you, and it might even hurt you in some cases, so you definitely kind of want to poke around. Lots of times I see this more like at 50% or even 80%, stuff like that, and you'd want to make sure that sometimes dropout means how much do you want to remain, and then sometimes it means how much do you actually want to drop out. I'm going to guess this is 20%. In fact, let's just Keras dropout. Let's see if Keras is super clear. Dropout. So I just typed in Keras dropout into Google. For some reason, I'm clicking on this and it's not. It took me. Applies dropout. Consists randomly setting a fraction. Okay. Right. So the fraction that we pass into here is indeed the amount that gets just applied a 0 to. Okay. Anyway, the more you know. I think TF-learn might be the opposite of that. So just keep that in mind. Always check. Okay, so those are our convolutional layers, but we eventually have to get to an output that just outputs 4 things, but also we want to throw in that last dense layer, so model.add, and then we're just going to do a flatten. And then we're going to do a model.add, and we're going to add a dense layer. We're going to say it's got 512 units. Activation will be rectified linear, so ReLU. And then we will do another dropout. So I'm just going to copy, paste. And here we'll do like a 50%. And then finally, we just need our output layer. So I'm going to make some space. So we're going to say model.add. I'm going to add dense. It's going to have 4 because we got 4 choices. And activation, in this case, we're going to go with softmax. And we're good with at least the model itself. Now we're going to specify some basic just parameters of that model. So we're going to say the learning rate. And the one I eventually settled on was actually 1e negative 4. Typically you'll actually start with a 1e negative 3 and then you keep decaying down to a 1e negative 4. But in this case, there was really no learning that was taking place with 1e-3. So I actually started at 4, and I never even decayed it. I just kind of left it there. We'll see as time goes on, and if we have a much larger training set that and just different data or more complex data, that we might find that we can get away with a smaller learning rate and decay and all that. But as it stands here, the whole purpose of up to this point is purely just to see, is there anything there? Can we actually learn on this data, or should we go back and try something else? So lots of people have been making lots of suggestions and stuff like that for how to make things better, and we will get there. But the first thing you want to make sure is if we can simplify this problem to be as simple as we can possibly make it, and things still don't work, then it's probably just not going to work with whatever we have in our mind for, how we want to structure things. So we actually need to go back and redo the foundation. So before we spend a whole lot of time getting all fancy, we want to just do something really, really simple. Anyways, so there's our learning rate. Now what we're going to do is specify the optimizer. So in this case, we're just going to use the Atom optimizer. So keras.optimizers .atom LR will equal learning rate, and then decay. We could actually set the decay. I guess I lied. I had set a decay. My bad. Anyway, now we're going to do a model.compile loss equals, and we're going to go with categorical cross entropy. Hope I spelled it right. And then we're going to say the optimizer is opt. And then the metrics, we're going to go with just accuracy for now. Accuracy. I need to get rid of these. Okay, and then the last thing I'm going to add here, probably before we finish out this video, is tensor board. We're going to specify a tensor board object here, so that's tensor board. And then the log dir is going to be logs slash stage 1. Okay, and then so that way as this model trains, we're going to save logging type data that we can display with TensorBoard, just so we can see how the model is doing. So sometimes if you're just like watching it and you're just kind of taking mental note of loss or accuracy or whatever, you can miss. There's a lot of trends that you're going to miss that are going to be pretty useful to see visualized in something like TensorBoard. So that's why that's there. Okay, yeah, I think I'm going to cut it here, and in the next tutorial what we're going to do is we're going to just continue building on this script, and all we have to do now is like read in the data and like start iterating through the data. And even this is a pretty small training data set, but it's already like 13 gigabytes, which is probably more VRAM than like almost everybody watching this probably has. So we need to figure out a way to more reasonably go through our data. So anyways, that's what we're going to be working on in the next tutorial. If I've made any mistakes here, we'll figure them out probably in the next one. Otherwise, if you've got questions, comments, concerns, whatever, feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.